Today, we are going to be talking about a classic horror film from the early 2000s by the name of Jeepers Creepers. Horror movies and thriller movies are my absolute favorite genre of movie. I think the beauty of horror movies lie in the fact that there is such a huge umbrella for what makes something horror. Like a horror movie can be a slow burn that focuses more on like the gradual decline of a character's psyche, like in Hereditary. It can also be a total like jump scare fest that doesn't let up for the entire movie, like The Conjuring, for example. It can also be the absolute destruction of the human body, like in Tetsuo, the Iron Man, or The Thing, for example. Horror movies come in many different shapes and sizes, and I really do appreciate the genre as a whole. So, as soon as I learned that I had been missing out on what people call a pretty classic, low-budget horror movie, I knew I had to give it a whirl. So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, enough of my blabbering. Let's hop in today's video. Jeepers Creepers is a movie that I feel is constantly swinging on a pendulum that goes between cheesy, low-budget, campy horror film to, wow, this was actually quite scary and works pretty well. This movie was released in 2001 and was directed by Victor Salva. Victor Salva has created a good chunk of movies in his time, some notable ones being the Jeepers Creepers series, there's two others that he directed after this one, Powder, which I have a very vague memory of watching at some point when I was a child. I couldn't tell you anything about the movie, but the main dude, there's something about him. I don't know, that's just stored in your brain forever. As well as another movie called Clown House. I've never heard of this one, so I can't really speak to the quality of it. I'm gonna be honest when I say that when I first watched this movie and did my usual look through the cast and stuff, not sure if you do this, but I totally read through like the entire Wikipedia article and then scour the IMDb page. But I was shocked to learn of the things that Victor Salva did. It made me look at this movie in a totally different light and really unnerved me when I went in for a second watch. I'll make sure to highlight those moments when we get to them, but for those that are unaware, in 1988, Salva was convicted of sexual misconduct with one of the underage stars on Clown House. He also filmed one of these encounters and was caught having a lot of exploitative material, ranging from like videotapes and magazines in his house. You'd think with all of this stuff I listed, this man would be like buried under the prison with all of this stuff, like never letting this dude out, keep him there forever. Apparently not though, because he got sentenced to 3 years. That's not a typo. I didn't misspeak. 3 years in prison, and he served no more than like 15 months. That's not a typo. I didn't misspeak. 15 months in prison. He was released in 1992. That was it. Talk about a slap on the wrist. I don't think the stuff that he did should ever warrant being let out on like good behavior or whatever way he worked the legal system to get himself out. Like, put that guy into the prison. Now, for the people in my audience that might have been listening closely, you'll probably have heard that I said he was convicted of that in 1988 and that I said Jeepers Creepers was released in 2001. This man still had a career with directing after all of that. And get this too, Salva actually received backlash during the 1995 release of his film Powder. During like the marketing phase and eventual release of this film, Salva's crimes had been made a public thing when the victim came forward about it. The victim is a huge voice and advocate for raised awareness of this type of abuse. While their name is out there, I don't know if it's my place to name them. I've read a bunch of things about some people saying like, yeah, they should be named and maybe not naming them. So I don't really know what the approach is. Maybe you can inform me. But anyway, Disney, the soulless corporation that it is, had claimed they'd only been informed of his crimes after the production of the movie. I'm sorry. I don't believe that at all. There is no way. There's no shot. There is no way that Disney, the corporation that makes sure to censor out any sort of gayness that appears in a movie for China, would somehow miss this. I feel like they knew, but were like, that's not gonna get out. There's no way that's getting out. I don't know. I refuse to believe it. Disney, of all corporations, come on. Maybe someone in the comments could convince me otherwise. Now, you would think after all of that Powder drama in 1995 that people would be hesitant to work with him. Maybe some of the publicity died down though, because in August of 2000, American Zoetrope and a few other production companies assisted with the creation of Jeepers Creepers. Overall, I'd say this movie is a fun watch and is pretty much worth your time. There are elements of cheese to it. As I mentioned, the swinging pendulum. It's still really fun though. Some of the performances get a bit lackluster, and also wasn't really a big fan of the soundtrack at moments, but still a movie that I think should at least be watched once. So, with all that in mind, and the weird director's crimes and terrible stuff, I'm going to give a spoiler warning because we are going to be talking about the plot of the movie and kind of bits and pieces that I enjoyed, what I didn't like, stuff like that. So you have been warned. Let's hop in. This video is sponsored by CookUnity. CookUnity is an incredible service that brings dishes crafted by award-winning chefs directly to your door. But it's not your average meal delivery. It's like having a personal chef from the best restaurants across the US. CookUnity offers an amazing variety of meals, fitting any diet or preference, including vegan, paleo, and gluten-free options. Imagine enjoying culinary creations from top chefs without leaving your home. Their subscription is also super flexible, and you can pause, skip weeks, or cancel at any time. One of the standout meals I had was the chicken enchiladas with tomatillo sauce, made by Chef Maribel Rivero, right in Austin, Texas. I absolutely love enchiladas, and this was everything that I needed. The rice was great, the beans were delicious, I loved this one. I also had fettuccine alfredo with rosemary chicken breast by Chef David Aiden, made in Austin, Texas. The chefs use nothing but real ingredients, focusing on organic and humanely raised meats whenever possible. And the convenience is unbeatable. Your meals arrive fresh, ready to heat, with no meal planning or lengthy cleanups necessary. If you're as excited as I am about trying CookUnity, I have great news. You can get 50% off your first order. Just visit cookunity.com/knight50 and use my promo code knight50 at checkout. Huge thanks to CookUnity for sponsoring this video and for having such an incredible selection of food. The movie starts off with our main protagonist driving through the Florida countryside. Meet Trish and Derry. Trish being actress Gina Phillips and Derry being actor Justin Long. Side note, if you haven't seen Barbarian with Justin Long, came out in 2022, please watch that movie. That is an incredible, incredible recent horror movie. It's super good, worth your time. Anyway, they are currently heading home from college because they're on spring break. They go back and forth with each other in pretty standard conversation. It honestly just seems like casual sibling interaction. The one sibling that wants to talk and the other that's desperately just not wanting to engage and almost is like just being a jerk to them. It feels pretty natural. Also, maybe I'm genuinely oblivious to it, but Trish mentions how Derry totally ran a stop sign.
That was a stop sign.
But in the entire intro sequence of the car driving forward, there isn't a stop sign present at all. Maybe Trish was just messing with Derry. Maybe this is how they have their fun, like talking about how they ran stop signs. I just found that part of the interaction a bit weird. Maybe a little bit even like unnecessary. I don't know, just a bit weird. They continue driving and begin talking about how there's no way there was a stop sign and that she isn't kidding about it. Derry notes that he hasn't seen a car in about 50 miles, but then it literally cuts to a camper van a few hundred feet out. I know it sounds psychotic to probably nitpick this much immediately, but come on. It's not even like he went over the hill and then saw the van. It's literally like in the frame the moment it cuts to a new scene. It makes the dialogue, it felt so weird. It just felt like a weird exchange of information. It was almost just like the story's like, here is the plot, now take it. Derry begins to accelerate and reads off the license plate of the van in front of them. I suppose maybe to just pass the time, they made a game out of reading the license plate and trying to figure out what it means. Upon seeing this license plate, Derry thinks it's gay fever, while Trish says it's sexy forever, due to it being a 6 and not a G. Trish takes the point for deciphering it and makes fun of Derry for thinking it's gay fever. While some people might think this scene is just unnecessary, I think this is pretty important because it highlights the fun nature that the siblings have together. While they were totally being sarcastic and maybe even a bit passive-aggressive to each other a few moments ago, they also know how to have fun and just take the time to enjoy each other's company. Trish even makes a funny comment to Derry about how the older gentleman driving the camper is going to be him in 40 years. I just really appreciate the dynamic that this film creates because even in the moments of them just messing with each other, you can still see that facade sort of break, and you know that they really both care about each other. It also becomes a lot more apparent in the next scene when Derry is trying to pry information from Trish about why she's driving home with her brat brother instead of spending a spring break with a supposed love interest. Also, before we go any further in the movie, I just wanted to let you know to keep going. Times may be tough on you right now, but I do want to say that you are capable of so much, and whatever you're going through, you're going to get through whatever is weighing on you. You've got this. After Trish messes with the radio, this is where things start to take a turn. In the far distance, you can see a truck steadily barreling toward the car Derry is driving. I think this scene is executed beautifully because the movie doesn't bring mention to it immediately. Derry is basically just messing with Trish while this truck is steadily gaining on the car. The truck begins to blare its horn, swerving in and out of the driving lane, while Derry screams for the driver to just go around him. As Derry swerves to the left and hits the brakes, the truck speeds past them, and the license plate shows "beating you." Pretty funny callback to a few minutes ago. After that pretty scary experience, Trish begins to reminisce about a couple by the name of Kenny and Darla. The pair begins to recall details of this couple, mainly talking about how they both died, and that they found their car along the same highway they're driving on, but didn't find Darla's head at the scene of the crime.
That they never found them. They only found the car.
No, they never found her head.
Derry brings up the license plate he saw and awards himself a point. Trish decides to make up a new rule saying you have to call it when you see it. It reminds me of like when you're playing tag and some kid's like, "Oh, I'm on base," or "Oh, I'm not playing right now." Yeah, okay, dude. All right, you're just a sore loser. Maybe you just need to accept it. You're a sore. I think there's some trauma there with that. There's still some trauma there. It then leads into this scene where they begin to do what I can only describe as like a childish back and forth of "nuh-uh" and "uh-huh." It seriously reminds me of something from like grade school. They make a quick pit stop on the side of the road, discussing the last time that they talked to their mother. After this talk and a conversation about Derry's supposedly unwashed clothes in a garbage bag, they decide to hit the road. As they drive further down the countryside, they notice the Beating You vehicle parked in a pretty nature-dense area off the road, near a broken-down building. The pair watches and wonders what this mysterious cowboy hat-wearing man is doing. They notice this man grabbing bloodied sheets with rope wrapped around what is very clearly a body. It's then dropped down the chute as the person takes notice of Trish and Derry. I find this scene equally scary and hilarious. Again, we're going back to that pendulum. On one hand, you're wondering, what is this guy doing? Like, what's going on over there? And on the other, you're like, good God, this dude must be jacked. Look at the way that he's just easily tossing these dudes down the chute. Like they're just feathers to this dude. The man stares ominously from a distance as the pair drives past. They start putting the pieces together on what they just saw, and Trish reaches for Derry's phone to what I can assume is calling the cops. Now, what do you think happens from here? Do they A, call the cops, B, call their mother, C, throw the phone at the truck, or D, not get to call anyone? Use the comment section below to lock in your answer. If you guessed D, you would be absolutely correct because of course the phone is dead. It's a horror movie. Did you expect anything to actually work in favor of our protagonist? No, of course not. I also find it pretty funny that you can just see some random vehicle in the background here. I don't know. I just think it's pretty amusing. Maybe it's intentional, but I'd like to think it was just some dude leaving his property and seeing some like rickety ass truck getting hauled onto the road. Just like, I don't know what's going on here, but I guess I'm just gonna leave that guy to doing what he's doing. As the pair finds themselves trying to speed away from the truck, the scene does a pretty good job of detailing just how quickly this truck is pursuing them. I will say though, it feels like there was no sense of urgency from Derry at all. Like you can tell he isn't exactly happy with what's going on, but it doesn't seem like his life is in danger. You know, like why isn't there a scene of him like stepping on the gas? Like there's like no screaming about the vehicle and how it's gonna get them and how this one's not going fast enough. Like, yeah, he hits the steering wheel a little bit, but come on, what in the world is that? The truck eventually catches up and slams into the back of the vehicle. Derry nearly swerves off the road but regains his composure until the truck decides to go for another hit. The truck goes in for 2 more hits onto the back of the vehicle before Derry decides to bullet right into a field. From here, it seems that they had evaded this crazed driver. Another funny thing as well, but if you like pay attention to each impact scene, you can see that the vehicle just magically repairs itself. Just another funny detail. I mean, come on, it's a low budget horror movie. They regain their composure and Derry asks Trish if they're both sure what they saw going down that pipe. Derry, being unaware that he's a horror movie protagonist, wants to go help and assumes that those people are alive. Trish, being aware that she's a horror movie protagonist, would rather go look for a phone, Good job, Trish. You know what's up. Derry eventually convinces Trish to make their way back to the pipe to see if anyone's alive. The pair makes their way to the abandoned building, which ends up being a church with these boarded up wooden windows. I'm sorry, but everything about this screams, hey, get out now. There are literal crows on the cross. Leave? Don't crows symbolize death or something? I think they symbolize a lot of stuff, but isn't death one of them? Come on. These are... Trish. Connect with your inner horror movie protagonist. You know this. You know this. Anyway, Derry hops out of the car, and so does Trish for some reason. Did she just forget that she literally said she wasn't going to leave the car?
I'm not getting out of this car.
You don't have to.
I'm not.
Why are you doing this? Derry even said he's just going to look.
We look in the pipe. That's it.
Stay in the car. Trish, I trusted that you knew you were a horror movie protagonist. What on earth are you doing? I'm disappointed, Trish. You're disappointing me. They go to the chute, but they're not really able to see too much. Derry says he can see light and asks Trish to go get a flashlight. As Trish leaves, Derry calls out a few times, trying to see and hear if anyone is down there. As he walks off, a voice within the chute replies to Derry. After hearing the voice and searching the pipe with the flashlight, he decides what better way to get a view than climbing right in. Trish even warns him that this is stupid, and it's like the part in horror movies where a character does something really stupid and everyone hates them for it.
Okay, you know the part in scary movies where somebody does something really stupid and everybody hates them for it? This is it.
Interesting. It's like Trish is aware. After hearing the voice once more, Derry climbs in head first while Trish holds his feet. Derry keeps talking about how he sees movement down the pipe. Based on the way he's describing it, you would think that it's a shadow or like something at the very, very bottom of the pipe. No. As it turns out, there is a rat not even 3 feet away from him. The rat doesn't even look like he's bothering anyone. If anything, the rat has just been sniffing around there for the past few minutes, and Derry was disturbing it. The next 10 seconds are just absolutely comical. Derry is screaming bloody murder about these rats that aren't even a threat to him. It wasn't like they fell from the top of the chute and like now they're on him and they're like crawling around him. They are just like minding their own business about 3 feet in front of him. But apparently that's enough to like warrant kicking and blood-curdling screaming. It's also worth mentioning that when you take the scene frame by frame, that the rats are just chilling in front of him. They're just playing. They're not a threat at all. It's absolutely hilarious. It's so over the top, but I love it so much. Also, it's worth mentioning that the movie doesn't say that Derry has like a rat phobia or something. He's just flipping out about some rats that he somehow didn't see that like 3 feet in front of him and also weren't a threat to him. Incredible scene. Absolute gold. While Derry was kicking and screaming, Trish loses grip on Derry's feet and he falls into the pipe. He slides down and finds himself at the bottom of this peculiar looking cave. After Derry and Trish have a back and forth about who got who into this mess, Derry notices one of the wrapped up bodies set up right in front of him. I found this scene really interesting because you can see the horror on Derry's face. The acting felt pretty genuine in this part. The campiness and ridiculousness of the previous scene basically washes away as Derry comes face to face with this corpse. He walks right up to it and gives it a slight nudge to see if there's any response. Oh, well, I guess this guy must be dead. No, of course not. This is a horror movie. You just got led into a false sense of security. The body grabs a hold of Derry's ankle and starts thrashing around. Quick question. Where did this dude's arm come from? Aren't they wrapped? Like, where is this coming from? Based on the scene itself, it seems like it's coming from under the sheet, but at some parts it looks like there's just an opening for their arm to move about. I'm probably just overthinking the scene too much, but it just makes me wonder, okay? Also, another thing worth mentioning, the music in this scene, I think is just absurd. I get that I'm supposed to feel scared, but it's almost like this movie wants you to be scared from the music, not necessarily from the scene itself. I feel like if this movie didn't go for some big, grandiose music, that this scene would have been a lot scarier. Maybe like a little sound effect to like make the audience react, but the thrashing is already creepy as hell. No music needed. Like, for example, Derry rips open the cloth of the thrashing body to reveal it's a young man. This scene is executed wonderfully because the music is essentially reduced to like an ambience. There isn't a massive orchestra behind it. I felt more scared during this scene than I did with the blaring music. I think it's just executed way better. The male starts reaching for the middle of his chest, and Derry rips the cloth once more to reveal his torso has been sliced down the middle and stitched together. The makeup for this scene is just amazing. While this movie didn't have the biggest budget ever, I could tell that they were very thoughtful about putting the makeup to good use. I will praise this movie a lot for that, so just be aware. I just think it looks really nice. I do feel the sound effects are a bit much for this scene. It does help enhance the horror, though. I guess I'll give it that, but it's just so over the top. The male leans in, trying to tell Derry something, but dies before he knows what was being said to him. Derry steps into the light of the chute and tells Trish to go get help, and to come back and warn Derry if the truck is visible. Derry surveys the cave that he is in and notices all the different bodies that are tossed around the area. The atmosphere of this place is so well done, and the dreariness is so lovely. Derry begins to look beyond the bodies and sees all sorts of different tools and machinery strewn about. While I think this set looks really cool, I can't help but lose my mind at a very specific part of the music again. Have a listen to it as the scene cuts from Derry looking at the patterns on the wall to the tools and machinery. Wish. Like, the symbol is it's so much. And for what? It's not even like it crescendos into anything. It's purely just a wish. Are you scared yet? The rest of the score isn't as offensive as this one part, I'll say. I do like the tension it builds with this scene, but it's just so much. Like, it cuts to what? It cuts to what? Nothing. And it cuts to nothing, and you just think like, wish, like, yeah, you freaking scared? Like, no, I'm not. Speaking of the scene itself, though, this entire sequence is absolutely fantastic. Hands down one of my favorite parts in the movie. As Derry investigates deeper into the cave, he begins to look at a table that has different carvings and miscellaneous tools scattered about. In the background, you can very faintly see these human silhouettes scattered along the wall. The movie eventually brings them into focus, and you're able to tell that this wall is clearly lined with different naked bodies. The unaware main character is such a huge horror movie trope, but I think this works so well in this scene. It's like an unraveling of information, not just like, here is the story. I just think the suspense is great. Derry looks up after some of the droplets hits his foot and realizes that the entire ceiling has bodies strewn about. A lot of bodies. After this scene, it cuts to Trish keeping an eye out for the truck, only to get a jump scare from a crow. Also, maybe I'm the only one, but do y'all think Trish is a bit close to the road here? Like, I know you're supposed to keep watch, but is any of the shrubbery around you not enough? Nah, I'm just gonna park myself right near the road so the dude chasing us knows for sure that we're here. Wouldn't want to give him any doubts, right? Derry notices some stairs leading up, but takes notice of a couple that's on the wall. As Derry takes notice of the ring, he realizes that it's Kenny and Darla, the couple that died along the highway. Darla's head, which was said to never be found, is clearly shown to be sewn into her body, as well as stitched back up. I love the way this is done because it goes back to that unraveling of the story. You see the utter disbelief on Derry's face as he begins to piece together that this urban legend is real. It's a really, really well done and cool scene. It cuts back to Trish being so bored that she has to keep an eye out for this crazed driver that nearly forced them off the road 2 times. Also, Trish, your keeping watch skills suck. Why did you not look the other way for literally 30 seconds? What are you doing? Do not trust Trish with keeping a watch on anything. She's an awful watcher. As I said before, I think this movie does a great job of keeping the horror almost audience discovered at times. It adds so much more suspense, and it like makes me go like, what the, like, turn around. I love that. And this movie does it quite a lot, and it works really well for it. Eventually though, after 30 seconds, she takes notices of the truck and rushes to her car. And of course, it doesn't start, because why would it? Oh, okay, it's just a different vehicle. Crisis averted. Derry jump scare. The pair get back on the road, and Derry is clearly shaken up from what he just witnessed. They eventually stop at a diner to fill up on gas. As they're making their way inside to make a phone call, the actual truck this time rushes past the pair. They rush into the diner and ask the people inside for help and that they want to phone the police. They move over to the phone and Trish is oddly aggressive to someone that looks pretty traumatized. She probably doesn't know what all went down in there, but maybe not be so aggressive. The phone rings and they learn it's some woman on the other end that is giving some oddly specific details about Derry, such as knowing his name and the other being the fact that he has his shirt torn just above a small rose tattoo on the stomach. Naturally, Trish and Derry are a bit freaked out about this mystery woman. Derry learns that the basement cave area is called its House of Pain and that the woman doesn't know the nature of the creature. She also informs the pair that this creature will stop at nothing to get them, because once it has the scent of something it likes, it simply doesn't stop. She also mentions that she saw the truck and the license plate. Derry tells her, "Beating you?" But she wants him to think about it. Derry isn't following, but it's meant to say, "be eating you." The interaction is a bit funny because Derry is also just so lost on what this woman is telling him. Honestly, I guess I would be as well. Imagine some random person calls you up after you just see some like horrific sights like that. And they're like, "Yeah, I know you don't know me, but I can list out some pretty specific details about what is going on in your life, specifically things that had just happened to you." That'd be enough to warrant a heart attack for me. Just saying. The woman tells Derry to listen as she plays the song Jeepers Creepers by Jack Teagarden. Supposedly, if you hear the song, you need to run because something awful and terrible will happen to you. Oh, okay, thank you for this information.
Fuck you, lady.
The pair decides to wait for the cops at the diner, and it seems like it took a while because the sun was up before they started waiting, and it seemed to have gone way down in that time. The scene is the aftermath of the explanation, so we don't know what Derry or Trish said. Since we already saw it all happen though, I guess we can just assume that all of the information and all of the details were shared. Derry has a pretty aggressive interaction with Trish here. Trish stays pretty silent as Derry is getting upset at Trish for supposedly not believing the stuff he saw in the House of Pain. He even grabs her at one point. The desperation is just so clear here. He just wants to be believed and maybe even reassured that he isn't crazy. Before she's able to say anything though, the cops come over and say that they're running the plates and sent some people over to the church. Derry is asked to recall the couple he saw on the wall and is essentially dismissed by the police officer. They say that the case was over 20 years ago, so that there's no way that they'd have like skin on them and like rings on their fingers. Derry gets really upset about this and like lashes out, saying that they had to be preserved or something to that effect, and tells them that basically what had gone on down there are just the facts. Like he's not lying, he's not exaggerating. Before this conversation goes much further though, a woman asks the pair if that's Trish and Derry's car out at the pumps. "Quick, play a super unnecessary orchestra hit." Like, yeah, there's so much going on there. You had to play that. Dude, again, there's something about that soundtrack, man. Like they'll just add those like Wish and like the orchestra hit. It's like, dude, you haven't even seen anything crazy yet. Like, what are you doing? They learn that some man was at the car sniffing Derry's dirty laundry that was in the back seat. Now, this is when the director things that I mentioned at the beginning start to really bleed into the movie. I'm telling you, a second watch of this movie after learning about the director adds so many weird moments to this film. Derry is informed that the person was sniffing the clothes and looked like he was liking it too.
He was standing there at your car. Looked like he was liking it too.
It also doesn't help that one of the articles of clothing that apparently was sniffed happened to be Derry's underwear. It's also worth mentioning that the victim of the director was a boy and that Derry is a young man. More focused on the fact that they were both like males, but it's just, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just really weird watching this movie and knowing this stuff. It makes me cringe. I don't know. It just seems, Derry informs the cops that there is a hand marked on the door handle and encourages them to dust it for prints. Trish and Derry start to head over to the church with the cops following behind them. Once again, the sibling dynamic here works perfectly. This movie has made me appreciate sibling dynamics so much. Because maybe I'm just a jerk, but I'm so tired of seeing some guy and some girl together and they really try to make you care about them and they really try to make it work. it doesn't work for me. I don't know. I don't think it just doesn't work for me. There's just something inherently deep built into a sibling bond, and I love it. It works so well. It moves over to the cops, and we learn that the church is actually burning down. The cop on the other line is suspecting it might be Trish and Derry who did the burning, and not some other figure. Back in the other vehicle, Trish starts messing with the radio, and a different version of Jeepers Creepers starts to play.
That's the song. That's the song.
While Derry informs Trish of this, you can clearly see the creature on top of the police car behind them. I know I've mentioned it a few times now, but the fact that the horror lies so much with like the main protagonist being unaware that it's happening behind them is just, it's just so fun to me. It almost makes it comedic because you're just like, turn around. What are you doing? How do you not see this? How are you not seeing this? How have you not checked your like rear view? How have you not seen this? Back to the other car though, the cops hear a loud bang on the top of the vehicle. As the woman cop checks the top of the vehicle, she is literally pulled right out of the passenger seat, and then the creature's hand bursts right through the top of the car and starts to reach for the driver. In an absolutely hilarious scene, you can see Trish and Derry talking about how it's the song. See, that's the song the lady was talking about. While in the back, you can see this car like swerving in and out of traffic. This eventually leads to the cops' head getting sliced off and tossed on the front of Trish's hood. Look, I know this is supposed to be terrifying, but maybe I'm just immune. Maybe I'm just immune to this type of horror, but I just thought this was I thought it was so funny. I thought it was so funny. It's just, I don't know. It's so over the top. I can't help but find the humor in it. Once coming to a halt, Trish decides to check out the police car, only to find the cop's head in the front of it, and the creature opening the door to the vehicle. Gotta give props for Derry for saying to get back in the vehicle. Come on.
Get back in the car.
That's a good one. We got to give him points. Maybe Derry is now realizing that he's a horror movie protagonist and should probably leave. I'm proud of him. All right, he's moving up. He's graduated from intern. I'm proud of you, buddy. Gold star. Trish rushes to the car, and they both now watch the creature leave the car and go pick up the head. Once in his hands, he starts sniffing it, and it looks like kissing it? Eating it? Oh, okay. He's biting the tongue and trying to rip it out. This also goes back to the weird, disgusting, terrible director stuff. Like, yeah, I don't think there's anything inherently sexual about the scene, but it's just so odd. It's just really weird. I think it's because Derry's underwear was being sniffed, which is a guy. The person the director abused was a boy, and now this cop that he's mugging down on is a dude, not the director, but like the creature. Like, I don't know, man. It's just weird. It's just weird. Trish decides to stop grinding the car gears and gets the hell out of there. I know I've been absolutely like ripping on the creature, which I don't know why I keep calling him the creature. His name is literally the Creeper. The Creeper. Bit on the nose there, don't you think, Victor? Don't you think? Maybe just a bit. Anyway, this next scene is gold. The creeper opens the back of his truck, and there's like an assortment of like bodies, hooks, tools, and miscellaneous items. This scene had me dying from laughter purely because of the demeanor of the creeper. There's just something about this scene. There's something about the way that he just drops the body off in the back of the vehicle and starts like patting around. It's like, okay, body, check. Car keys, check. Oh, nearly forgot the cowboy hat. All right, check. And I think we're good to go. Oh, and this head too. Derry thinks Trish is going to crash, so he tells her to slow down, and they find themselves outside a home pretty far out in the country. Look, Derry, I know you might think getting into a crash is your biggest concern right now, but lest we forget the demon dude that you just saw like a few minutes ago, why are you not wanting to drive as fast and as far as possible? Trish, you're scaring me. You know what's going to be even more scary? Derry, the creeper getting you. Didn't that lady on the phone also inform you to run? Why would you not be running, Derry? Why do you want to die, Derry? Why do you want to die? Oh my God. It's horror movie characters. I think it's just like, it's just embedded in them. They just are like, yeah, like what's the option that will get me killed? What's that option? Let's do that one. Anyway, they stop in front of this house and Trish wants to go inside because they might have a phone. Derry is even like, hey, I told you to slow down, not stop. I don't know what you're doing.
So you just told me to stop.
I didn't say stop, I said slow down.
They pull into the driveway and approach the front door. An older woman eventually steps out from the porch area asking who they both are. They introduce themselves and ask for a phone and, of course, Actually, no. For some reason, she doesn't have a phone. Maybe this is like my like Gen Z, TikTok, iPhone addicted, cooked brain and cooked generation-ness speaking. But I feel like home phones were common. I mean, I remember having a home phone when I was a child. Please correct me if I might be wrong on this, all right? But I'm pretty sure this lady should have a phone. It's the early 2000s, like a home phone at least, right? Anyway, old Betsy, she does not have a phone. Moving on. Trish informs the older woman that she's wanting to call the police, but essentially gets told off because the older woman doesn't want to deal with the police and their zoning rules. From the dialogue that's pretty ham-fisted, you can tell that this woman is a crazy cat lady. Honestly, I aspire to be that. I love cats, especially like hairless cats, like Bingus. I'll be the crazy cat lady if they need me to be. All right. Also, this next scene is hilarious. Trish informs the woman that someone has been killed, and surprised by this information, she flicks on her porch light and she's like, "Killed, you say?" But then the woman learns that it was just a policeman that got killed, and she's like, oh gosh, oh Jesus. I thought you meant one of my cats. The lady, seemingly offering a little bit of help, says that they can call the sheriff, but not to give them her address. So I guess she had a phone all along. Thanks, lady. She also mentions that the cats don't like strangers. Wow, that's surely not a line that's going to hold significance in the next 5 minutes, right? Surely the creeper won't show up being the stranger that she's referring to. As the pair is about to leave, the lights on the porch go out. The cats start getting restless and anxious. Also, I guess the cat sound effects are royalty free because those are totally the cat sounds in Minecraft. Those are totally the cat sounds. The woman spinning sunflowers stops, and so does her windmill, with the cats growing even more anxious and unnerved. She asks the pair if they have anyone else with them, and look to see, you guessed it, the creeper right in front of the scarecrow. Oh my goodness. Surprisingly enough, the dialogue from 2 seconds ago came into play. Oh my God.
That's not my scarecrow.
Astute observation, ma'am. She then walks out with a double-barrel shotgun and threatens the creeper. Granny is about that life. She does not play. And after some more threats, she eventually shoots at the creeper, and Jesus Christ, look at the size of this explosion. What was in that gun, Granny? Oh my God. The creeper clatters around in the home of the woman after seemingly evading the gunshot. And of course, we have more royalty-free cat sound effects. We gotta get out of here now. I can't go back to jail. She storms right into that house, gun in hand, and is ready for war, threatening to blow the creeper's head off. After some gunshots ring out, the woman can be seen in the doorway. As the tension builds in this scene, you learn that the creeper was holding the woman the whole time. I felt like the scene could have been more effective if the cut from showing the woman in the door to the cut of the creeper holding onto her wasn't so poorly done. Maybe in the few seconds it shows Derry and Trish, you're supposed to forget how it previously looked. I didn't though, and it just looked a bit sloppy. Could have been a little bit better. Anyway, the creeper carries the woman out and reveals his face to the pair, watching in horror. The makeup is really well done on the creeper. It looks so sick. And I know that if I watched this movie as a kid, I would have been like crying in fear, like nightmare fuel, actual nightmare fuel. I mean, look at his teeth. The creeper throws Granny at the speed of light and pursues the pair as they're attempting to flee. When they reach the road, the car runs into more issues again. Of course. Is it really a horror movie if the protagonists don't have like the worst luck imaginable? Creeper jump scare. Okay, listen to me. The next probably like minute 30, it's probably not gonna be a minute 30, are gonna be me just having the absolute time of my life. So if you hate seeing me happy, make sure to skip. Haters, make sure you skip, bro, all right? The next sequence of events had me dying of laughter when I first watched it. It's so over the top, I was losing it, okay? Since the car was stuck in reverse, Trish floors it. How do you think the creeper gets over the vehicle? Just sort of like maybe like leap off. If you guessed a perfectly executed backflip, you get a gold star because the creeper does a full backflip off the car. He didn't need to do any of that, but he did anyway. I respect it, all right? I respect it. And to be very clear, I was freaking dying when I saw this. Like, he did not need to do that. Trish begins to speed up and tries to hit the creeper with the car, but he basically just prances over the vehicle. It seems like he's capable of evading our attempts of hitting him. Should we maybe drive off, considering we're now facing a direction in which we can do that, and the creeper is behind us? No. We're going to reverse and try it one more time, baby. We're going for a jackpot, baby. 99% of gamblers quit before they're about to win it big. Meditate on that. And guess what? He just prances right over the car again. Shocking, I know. Okay, this time for sure. Now we mean business. This is going to be the one. Surprisingly enough, it actually was the one. It worked this time. It actually worked so well that the creeper literally turns his body in such a way to ensure that he falls onto the windshield. It's incredible how well this one worked out. It was also so effective that the creeper somehow gained so much momentum that he gets rocketed into the sky. Amazing. Kino, incredible. The creeper falls into the back of the vehicle and begins the next hilarious sequence. Trish begins to run over the creeper, not once, not twice, but 3 separate times until Derry tells her that it's
Enough!
Should have maybe let her have one more go, Derry, because this dude sprouts wings and they start flapping about. It seems like the creeper is pretty injured though, because he doesn't like fly off. I don't think he's in too good of shape either, considering Trish runs him over one more time as they're leaving. Trish and Derry make their way to the police station and phone up their mother, basically just letting them know that they're both okay and that they'll be home soon. Derry begins to look at all the different people on the board that are missing in the area. You can tell that this takes a toll on him. I love this part because you can basically see that he's like piecing everything together on what happened to these people. He knows the truth. It's a really small scene, but it's pretty well done. As the pair are talking, a woman bursts into the police station, confronting them. Meet Giselle Hartman, played by actress Patricia Belcher. A cop tries to intervene in the conversation that's happening. You can tell by his demeanor that this stuff happens a lot. He brushes her off as a crazy psychic and tells her to go home. You learn through the dialogue that this is the woman that was on the phone with Derry earlier in the diner. Trish is a bit standoffish about wanting to talk, but when Giselle starts talking to Derry about the bodies he found, you can tell it piques his interest. She claims that she's seen the bodies as well in a dream. To further prove that she's psychic, Giselle even brings up Derry being surrounded by cats, which goes back to the crazy cat lady earlier. She sits Derry down and informs him that every 23rd spring, for 23 days, the creeper eats on the body parts of humans. It eats lungs so that way it can breathe. It eats eyes so that way it can see. You get the idea. It then cuts to the truck pulling into the police station parking lot with the classic "Be Eating You" license plate. Giselle mentions how Trish did some major damage on the creeper by running him over, but learns that the creeper can basically just eat someone and he won't hurt anymore. The dialogue is also accompanied by a pretty disfigured looking creeper as he makes his way to the backside of the police station. While this information is important to know, I really wish it wasn't saved for like the last 20 minutes of the film. This movie's an hour and 30, and I think we're about like an hour and 10 in right now. With it being mentioned right now, it feels like they're almost like eyeing the clock, going like, damn, we haven't explained this stuff yet. I think we gotta pick it up. We gotta hurry. I don't know. It feels a tad like forced. And I only say a tad because the next pieces of information make for a pretty good reveal. They basically learn from Giselle that the creeper will stop at nothing if he finds someone that he likes. So that means they're always going to get pursued by the creeper until he finds out the person that he likes most, that person being Trish or Derry. And the way that he finds the people he likes is by scaring them, which causes the fear from the person to be smellable by the creeper. So the reason the creeper was tailgating them in the first place wasn't an accident. He was trying to scare them and see if the fear from them was something he enjoyed. As soon as this information is revealed, the lights go out in the police station. Derry and Trish are in almost a disbelief. Derry even notes that they definitely ran over the creeper until there was nothing left. The emergency lights kick in and semi-illuminate the police station. I love the setup here. The way that it ties back into the previous encounter with the creeper is so sick. Like the lights going out, everything going to a standstill. It's just a really neat callback. Also, Giselle drops like the hardest line ever after Derry mentions that they ran the creeper over until it was dust.
I think it's eaten too many hearts for its own to ever stop.
A cop checks on the people that are in jail overnight, just making sure that everything's in order. As he reaches the last cell though, he notices 2 panicked inmates pointing. As the camera pans, you can see the creeper gnawing at an inmate on the ground. This scene is amazing. The suspense that's built up is great. The creeper looks incredible here, might I add. The makeup is really well done. I mentioned it earlier. I love the makeup in this film, but I mean, like, look at that thing, dude. It's freaky. This scene is great. It's also worth noting that the creeper eats only what he needs. So you can see him like gnawing away at the inmate's foot, which the creeper didn't have intact earlier. It's just a nice detail. It's just a nice detail. Anyway, the cop shoots at the creeper and I think misses? Point blank range, by the way? Not time. While the cop tries to escort Trish and Derry to a holding cell to remain safe, Giselle freaks out, saying that they can't do that because that's where the creeper finds them. She says that one of them was in a dark room, screaming the last scream you'll ever scream, while the song Jeepers Creepers played. The cop tells Giselle to knock it off, and then one of their walkie-talkies goes off, talking about how there's a situation going on downstairs. Giselle convinces Trish and Derry to follow her as she's going to try and get them out of the police station. While all of this is happening, a swarm of cops rush to keep guard on the stairwell. The guy on the other line of the walkie-talkie informs the Sarge that he lost sight of the creeper and that he climbed up the walls. One of the cops decides to inspect the stairwell and look around for the creeper. Oh, I guess he left, guys. Coast is clear. This scene ends up being pretty cool to look at as the creeper literally steals this dude's heart. The stealing is clearly off screen, but you can see that the work has been done as this flashlight illuminates the hole in his chest. It's such a cool shot. I do find it weird though that none of the other cops thought about shooting this lizard man that came down from the ceiling though. Is this like a usual Tuesday for y'all? Just business as usual? Funnily enough though, as they restrict their fire with that scene in typical American cop fashion, they just start shooting, dude. They just walk up to this area and just start shooting. Like, I don't know what prompted that. Cutting back to Trish, Derry, and Giselle, they find themselves at the end of a hallway and a door that can't be opened. Gunshots are ringing out as they realize they're stuck, and the only way out is the front door. They lash out at Giselle, saying that her dreams are basically useless because she should have known the way out. She counters by saying that some parts are missing and that she thought Trish and Derry could change what she saw if she told it to them. Derry seems terrified as he basically learns that Giselle knows who the creeper wants, claiming she knew as soon as she walked in. Giselle looks over at Trish and Derry demands answers as he asks if the dreams are ever wrong. This scene is just incredible. The sibling dynamics in this movie are just making it so much better than a stupid couple that I don't care about. There is just something so much deeper about this relationship, and it's done so well. Creeper jump scare. As the pair runs upstairs, it seems like Giselle is going to take on the creeper herself. Kick his ass, Giselle. Oh, he's climbing on the side of the wall, Giselle. Giselle, what are you? Giselle, are you praying right now? What are you doing? Creeper jump scare. Nah, you smell stinky, bye. Trish and Derry make their way into what I guess is an interrogation room. Derry is doing a lot of the carrying here as he is trying to get the window open. What happens next, though, is a pretty cool shot. You can see Trish look over at herself in the mirror, but then you see the creeper's hand show up on the other side of the mirror as she's peering in. It's so damn creepy and so well done. Creeper jump scare. The creeper grabs Trish and Derry by the throats and begins to sniff them, trying to identify which one is the one he's looking for. This scene is just creepy, not even in like an, oh my god, I'm so scared by this horror movie type way. It's just weird, especially after learning the stuff that the director did. It makes me look at it so differently. It doesn't help when this dude starts licking up on Trish. Trish gets tossed to the side as the creeper focuses on Derry. Suddenly, a chair flies through the mirror and cops draw weapons on the creeper. Again, makeup and costume takes the cake for this scene. The almost face-hugger looking part of the creeper reveals itself as a high-pitched scream fills the room. It just looks so cool. It looks so cool. As Trish watches Derry, she begs and pleads with the creeper to take her instead. Derry even tells Trish to not be a hero. This scene is just so well done. The sibling dynamic is shining through in such a wonderful way. It also shows how far the characters have come. In the beginning, they both were doing like the usual sibling banter of like being sarcastic to each other and like, you know, still caring about each other, but, you know, overall just having that being rude thing going on. But it reaches a point that their bond is so strong to the point where Trish would rather be taken than having seen her brother go. It's all built up to this scene and it works beautifully. Give us more sibling dynamics. I'm tired of being told to care about these stupid couples. I don't care about them. I don't. The creeper sprouts his shitty CG wings, breaks through the window, and has Derry lifted off into the sky. Yep, that definitely looks like he's being carried off to me. Definitely not special effects at all. Trish tries to run after her brother, but eventually comes to a stop. Trish is seen sitting near the front door of the police station when Giselle walks in. Trish asks what she saw in her dream, but Giselle essentially ignores the question by saying that, oh, she's just a crazy old woman.
Just a crazy old woman.
Okay, all right. Giselle, I guess you had your chance. As Trish steps outside to meet with her parents, she notices a crow flying through the sky. It then cuts to some broken down facility. You can faintly hear Derry's screams as you're taken deeper into the facility. It eventually cuts to the Creeper's workstation as Jeepers Creepers plays on a phonogram. It's almost comedic the way everything is set up. You can clearly see like bodies strung up in the background, but this music is so cheery as you see the Creeper like doo 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 doo, just like working at his bench. It's pretty funny. It then cuts to a rose tattoo and reveals Derry's eyes. You can see that his eyes have been removed from his face and the further parts from his skull have been scraped out. As the lyric, "Where did you get those eyes?" plays from the phonogram, the Creeper appears from behind Derry's body, looking through the gaping eye holes with what used to be Derry's brown eyes. And with that, the movie ends. Overall, super fun movie. I think this movie serves as just a great low budget horror film. It's nice, it's campy, it's just interesting to see. I loved it. I truly had a great time with this movie. So with that, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. So what were your thoughts on this movie? Did you share a lot of the same sentiments that I had? Were there things you wish the movie did or didn't do? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear what you think about it. But of course, before we hop into the end segment, I would like to have the patron scroll. And it's been a bit. It's been a bit since I've uploaded, and you guys are still supporting the content, or I guess maybe the lack of it. But thank you. Even with the break that I took, you are still there to support the content. That just means so much to me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for supporting my weird little videos on the internet, even when I do take breaks. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the video, why not like and subscribe? It definitely helps me out. If you didn't though, why not dislike? And let me know what I can improve on for next time. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, see you on the next one.